It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
What's up, everybody? This is SportSense, the show for people who don't care to keep up with sports. I'm your host, Cooper Epps, and I'm here with my dad, James Epps, who's going to educate us on one of the biggest events in sports of the year. Next week is the Super Bowl, so insert air horn here.
Coop. Hey, Coop.
Yeah.
By the way, it is considered, in the United States for sure, the largest sporting event of the year.
Yeah. I mean, there's the World Cup.
I said in the United States.
No, I'm just kidding.
But in the world, yeah, there's some other.
I've never watched the World Cup in my life, and we'll have to talk about that one day. But if you hear,
bring your brother on for that.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. We got a soccer fan in the family, but you guys might hear a lovely angelic chuckle in the background, and that is this week's Noobisode guest, Brandon Hemsely. Insert another air horn here.
Hello. This is Brandon.
Brandon, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about who you are before we get into things here.
So I'm Brandon Hemsely. I work in advertising, and I know very little about sports. And I think one story that captures how little I know is I was with a performing group, and we were going on this tour, and they told us that we were going to a baseball game. And I had heard of the major leagues, but they said we were going to a minor league game. And I was like, okay, cool. I actually didn't know that was a thing. So I'm sitting in the stadium waiting for this, game to start. And well, when they say minor league, I literally thought that there was going to be kids playing baseball. Like I had no idea. I was so confused when all the adults came out. I was like, well, where are the kids? So that's just that's baseball. But that's my sports knowledge there.
That's a classic.
Gosh.
That's classic. I've never even heard of anyone who has done that. You gave me a first, Brandon. That's awesome.
You're expecting like minors versus the Predators.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like minors, kids are minors. I don't know. I heard major league, that stuck around, that got to me, but just not the minor league. So it was fun though. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Where was that? What state?
Oh man, I don't.
You remember?
I think
okay,
I think I had actually, it was when I had visited your place, James.
Yeah, I think you went to the Durham Bulls.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
Over in Durham, which is the premier AAA minor league stadium and program in the country. So you went to the best of the minor leagues, even though
I had no idea what
a different experience for you. Because I remember when y'all were here, you told me about that. I thought, oh yeah.
Yep.
Dang, good memory, Dad. And you probably still fell asleep because it was still a baseball game. So
I think it's pretty hot. Probably pretty hot on them. I don't know if I remember right.
Oh, probably. I'm just kidding. Baseball fans, I'm sorry, Dad. Baseball's great.
It is great.
Well, so our last Noobisode, we asked, where are you on the spectrum from sports nut to butt?
I am definitely a butt. Maybe a little.
Right.
I mean, I've watched the sports, I've seen sports games, across the board. So I've been exposed, but do I know much? No.
You know of their existence.
Yes.
Okay, good. Would you claim to be a fan of any particular team or franchise?
I'd have to say the only team I'm a fan of is BYU football. And it's just because I went to school there, and that's it. That's my ties. So
that's a great awesome tie, though. That's great.
Yeah, and you can be really, really loyal to them since they're your only one.
Exactly.
So my dad, I hear him professing all sorts of fandom for all sorts of teams and players. I never know what's going on.
No, I just appreciate some. BYU and NC State. They're my only two fandoms in college.
Okay, in college, yeah.
Well, yeah, you can be fans in multiple sports, multiple divisions.
Well, I'm just saying you're spreading your heart so thin across all these different teams. It's crazy.
I got a large heart for that.
Lots of room.
I've mellowed a lot over the years. I don't die every time. BYU football sometimes almost makes me die.
Yeah.
And their basketball has put dings in me.
I've seen them make you stand up from the couch and do some body language at the TV. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mellowing. Coop is scary. I'm mellowing though some.
About
But for
time.
me, mellowing might be bringing back to some reasonable equilibrium of
Yes.
life. I'm sure.
Well, good. Well, it's great to have your energy, and it's starting to rub off on me a little bit too. So I appreciate it. But well, with that, Brandon, thanks for being here. Dad, thanks for being here. And
Yes,
let's start to dive into this Super Bowl episode. This is a big one. There's going to be lots of conversation about it this week, so lots to prepare for.
Yeah.
Where do you want to get started?
I want to get started by telling you one of my favorite golfers yesterday won Pebble Beach.
Hey, that's not the right. We're not getting off to the right.
This is football, right?
track.
This is the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We're going to get to that, but Roy McIlroy, yeah, just if you have an interest, you golfers at all, so that was pretty cool.
So what did he win? You said he won
Pebble Beach. It's called
Beach?
the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It's one of the premier tournaments of the year, but it's also one of the first ones of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a lot of attention on the most beautiful course on God's green earth. So right along the shores of California, it's just, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
So you said how many of these, this is what confuses me about golf. While we're talking about it, let's clarify this.
Boy, I'm sorry I did this, Brandon, but
well, I think it's a pretty easy question.
Okay.
But it's just like you hear about whatever you just said. You hear about the Masters, the PGA Tour. I don't know what are they different leagues? Are they different series? Or I don't know. What's the language or what's happening there? What and how many are there a year?
Well,
You know
interesting enough, the world has changed. Something big has happened. But what the PGA is, or the golf tour in the U.S., it can have, I don't know, their whole season lasts. There's probably 35 to 40 tournaments. They probably only have 10 weeks off during the year.
Wow.
So they start in the winter. They start in Hawaii, come to California, start moving in the U.S. Anyway, so it's really, there's a minor league version that they have, but that's the main golf, and all the different tournament names you hear are just the different individual tournaments. Yeah. Okay. They got that too, but so all the different names you hear, but in reality, they call it, there's one over in Great Britain, or it could be Scotland, it could be Ireland. So there's 4 what they call majors. We don't have time for all this. We'll take this stuff in Augusta. We'll talk about this when the Masters comes up. But the 4 majors, which is the way this kind of prestige, right? You win one of the 4 majors, it's unbelievable. So it's going to always be Augusta. I mean, the Masters at Augusta, Masters, U.S. Open, which we went to last summer. You weren't with us, but we went to Pinehurst. It rotates every 6 years, so we're going to get to see them again. And then you have, of course, we had they call it just the Open or the British Open. It's it moves in different courses over there.
But they invented golf over there, so they just get to call it the Open.
Yeah, they get to call it the Open. We call it the British Open over here. And then lastly, you have the PGA Championship, called the PGA Professional Golf Association Championship. Those are the 4 majors. Okay. Anyway, but now they've added something called the FedEx Cup, which means they gather points all year long to give big bonuses at the end. Oh boy. They're trying to create more. It's so many layers now. And then you have the Live group that spun off and went to Saudi Arabia's money. It's called Live, L-I-V. You probably haven't even heard of that.
I remember you texting about that.
The battle. Remember the battle, and they've taken away some of their best golfers, and they pay them outrageous amounts of money to go play overseas and all over. Anyway, and they play here some too. But they're having a battle, and they're about to resolve it and kind of figure a way to merge somewhat.
Well, let's definitely revisit this in a later golf-specific episode. But thanks for
it was just exciting. Yeah, I like Roy McIlroy. He hadn't won that tournament. All right,
Roy McIlroy. Okay,
Roy. All right, you ready?
Yeah, time to get into the football game, huh?
So I got a couple things for you just to get your brain really going. Okay, so Brandon,
yes.
I'm sure you know who's playing, right?
I have no idea who's playing.
Okay. You are the perfect guest, apparently, for another noobisode, as Cooper calls them. All right, well, it's Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
You've heard of them.
Taylor Swift's team, is that right?
That hurts. That hurts, but yes, a whole new segment of the world has come to know Kansas City Chiefs. That makes my wife happy to hear that. I can't wait to tell her that one. And then they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. There is no Beyonce or attached to that or anything. It's just the Eagles, man, the blue collar team. And so anyway, it's a great matchup. Here's the big things. So people said they're getting Kansas City fatigue. So what's happening, Brandon? Got to give them a quick, this is a big deal.
Mhm.
So you go to your in-laws, you got to at least get this. This
Yes.
is like the minimum.
Okay.
You got to get in your head. All right. So they are trying for something that's never been done in the entire NFL history. They're trying to have a three-peat, win 3 Super Bowls in a row. They've already accomplished something that had never been done before. No team has ever gotten to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row. In other words, there have been several who won 2 Super Bowls in a row, but on the following year, they never even made it to the Super Bowl. And thanks to an exciting game last week that you can go check our other podcast out. It talks all about it. But they had a crazy great win, and they made it to the Super Bowl against the Eagles, who crushed the Washington Commanders last week. So the import, right? The gravity of this is big. This is big.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do that, they'll accomplish something that's never been done in all of pro football. So that's pretty cool. And they've got, so I came loaded with a couple stats, Cooper, just to make your head spin. So they've got a quarterback named Patrick Mahomes, right? Well, number one, I guess you don't know who the head coach of Kansas City is then.
I feel like if you said the name, it would ring a
So you probably know him, and the Light the World campaign. He participated this year.
Yeah.
So it's Andy Reid.
That's right. Okay.
A former BYU player, former BYU coach, has worked his way. Well, Cooper knows how I feel. Andy Reid's the greatest coach ever. I love him to death, and he's a great man. And he does really wonderful. I mean, what he does, we don't even know all the good that he does, but he does so much good.
We love you, Andy.
Yeah. And so you got him, and then you got Patrick Mahomes, who's I am convinced, the most clutch quarterback ever almost. There's a few that'll stand up there with him, but right now he's the most clutch football player. Quarterback that there is in the NFL.
And by that, you mean he just pulls off the crazy last-minute victories.
Exactly.
Is that what you mean by clutch?
Yes, and you led me to the perfect. I did some research. Cooper, I dug deep. So I found this on a podcast from Trey Wingo, who's not going to mean anything to you. Trey Wingo was one of the original ESPN guys way back. And he still talks sports, like on the podcast and things like that. I don't know if he freelances. He's probably retired, having a good time. But I always liked Trey Wingo. Anyway, he's on a podcast. And so here, I got to give you the stats. So this is, Brandon, this will bring into your mind how clutch Andy Reid is, number one, in their coaching staff. Crazy. He's just the best with Patrick Mahomes, right? So since 2001, this is just crazy. Since 2001, so it's 24 years. This will be 24 years. There's been in the postseason. Postseason means playoffs. Okay. Postseason and playoffs. There's been 121 drives. Now this will drive Cooper nuts. Drives is you get the one team gets the ball on offense and they start driving down the field. They get 4 downs to get a first down. We've gone over this too, but one drive means that you get all the way down, score a touchdown or a field goal, or you turn the ball over and the other team gets their chance, and that becomes another drive. So a drive is a singular event, if you will, while they possess the ball. Either they're going to score, or they're going to turn the ball over, or the other team gets the ball because they turned it over, or 4 downs, they didn't get a first down.
Yeah, it almost makes sense. It almost makes more sense for me to call a drive a possession. Like it's their turn, they're on offense, and they're trying to get a touchdown.
But
yeah,
in the world of football, it's a drive. It's one of the drives. So it is a possession, but it is a drive. So there's been 125 drives in the playoffs, in the postseason, that have been in the fourth quarter with 1 minute or less to go in the game. So that's the scenario. Fourth quarter, into the game, 1 minute to go, and there's a drive happening. And that team that's driving is down by 7 points or less. So they're losing. And they got 1 minute. And they've got to drive each one's a little different, but they got to drive the field to score either a field goal or a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah, they're praying for a miracle.
Got it in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's a little under, of all those drives, a little under the 40%, like 39-something% of those teams have actually scored and either tied the game to put it in overtime or won the game. Here's what's interesting. There's been some great quarterbacks. Brady had 11 of these type of drives, right? Just so you know, he did.
Sure.
Not right,
All
but he did. He had
Yeah,
11 of
right.
these drives
Whatever you
in
say.
his career, and he went 5 for 11. That's pretty remarkable. 5 of 11. When you think about it, less than a minute to go, got to drive the length of the field, score. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Drew
My
Brees.
My teachers didn't think that was a good ratio growing up.
No,
but
it all depends on
Yeah.
what you're dealing in, right? You'd be a Hall of Fame baseball hitter if baseball player if you're there. Drew Brees, great New Orleans quarterback. He was 3 for 6, so he was 50%. Again, excellent. Patrick Mahomes has gone 7 for 7.
Oh wow.
Whoa. That's cool.
So the
Yeah.
best ever before Patrick Mahomes was Tom Brady, 5 of 11, and Drew Brees, 3 of 6. They were the very best ever,
Wow.
ever. And
So yeah,
Patrick,
he's actually the definition of clutch. Yeah. There you go.
statistically, I just made my case, right?
Yep.
Well, I
Case
mean, I
closed.
dug deep for this. This is you aren't going to find this on your average ESPN.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Isn't
There
that
you go.
amazing? I mean, so as Trey Wingo says, until something bad happens, I'm never going to bet against Patrick Mahomes down the stretch. Anyway, pretty cool. So Brandon, three-peat. They call it three-peat.
Yep.
I talked to Cooper all about three-peat, where that word came from last week. But so that's the big talk.
Mhm.
The Chiefs, the Eagles. Eagles has a great quarterback, but even a better running back.
Mhm.
So very exciting. They're very blue collarish. They'll basically pound your head in and pound the ball, running. Then Kansas City is so creative and has a really good defense also. But it should be, cross our fingers, another great game. And I can never pick against Mahomes and Reed, so I'll pick them to win by a hair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
There's a good start.
That's a great start. You are leaving me wanting more with the Eagles stuff. Do you have anything you want to dive into? So
Well,
we can
only a
understand where
couple
the
things
Eagles are coming from.
Yeah, and we'll finish. We'll finish up, and then I'll go to a little bit about the Eagles. And I didn't pull a bunch up because they're in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so they have a good team, and that's where Travis Kelce. Your little reference earlier. I don't say her name on this podcast, but reference earlier. His older brother is Jason, who was the center of all those really good Philadelphia teams. So he's retired last year, but and they missed him.
They played against each other in the Super Bowl, the brothers.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Well, no. That year they had lost Kansas City. No, because they've only been. Yeah. They did. That's right. It's been 3 years. This is the third one in a row. Yes, absolutely. And they, that's tough to play. But interesting. They both play on offense, so they never had to meet each other on the field. But their teams
that makes
played.
sense. Yeah.
So their mother had a jersey, and it was split song. KC and Philly. Yeah, both numbers on each side. It was really cool. That's hard on a parent.
Fun fact about those brothers: I almost met them last year at Super Bowl time. I was in Vegas filming a commercial for Papa John's, and almost got to go. They were doing a podcast, and they wanted me to film it, but I was too busy. So
what?
Yeah. But also, what's funny is I actually didn't really have that strong of a desire. I was like, I'm okay.
They're just sports ball players.
Yeah, this is sports ball. Granted, I was working with another NFL player. I was working with Max Crosby with it.
Oh yeah, Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, so that was my.
But those brothers are like the hottest thing on the market right now.
Yeah. Well, and while we're on the subject, Brandon also got to meet another incredible legendary athlete just a few months ago for Papa John's. You want to brag about that for a sec?
Shaquille O'Neal. I met him.
Oh my gosh.
And he's very tall. I mean, I'm 6'2", and I felt really small next to him. But
he's a massive man, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a funny guy too. But the first thing he said while we were on set was, "Who wrote this?" And he was trying to find who the creatives were, which was me and my buddy. And so that was very intimidating to go stand underneath Jack as he was going over our script. So, but it ended up being great.
Well, I think you met probably one of the nicest do-gooders of all time in sports.
Yeah, was he nice?
Oh yeah, he was super nice. We were shooting, and he stopped production. He saw someone coming out of a building, and he said, "Hey, stop that girl!" And we're like, "What?" And we stopped this girl from walking, and he basically says, "Hey, see that Forever 21? I own that. Go in and buy I don't know, it was like 10 grand worth of stuff. I don't know, it was
No
some
way.
crazy number.
Wow.
And so she comes back with all these bags of clothes, and he paid for it. So
That's so cool.
No, I
Dang.
mean, and he does things on larger scale. There's not a day that can go by he doesn't do something like that for someone.
Right.
If you've ever seen the video clips, I'm very envious. That'd be one of the few that I don't really fawn over or care about really meeting, or I don't want autographs. But he is definitely one I would love to meet and talk to for a moment. I don't know if you've seen the video clips when he does ride-alongs, and he's going to be maybe he is now a deputy sheriff. He was working on that down in Florida,
wow.
right? Down in
I think
Orlando, that area.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, oh yeah, he's big into law enforcement, supporting them. But anyway, he's shown up a lot of times that kids playing ball outside. There was a complaint to the sheriff's department about boys being so loud playing in the cul-de-sac, and they had a real old basketball goal. And anyway, so the sheriffs went out. He was happened to be with them that day. He goes, I want to go on that call. And so they went out. They kept them hidden in the car. You can look at the videos sometimes, hidden in the car, and the sheriffs come out, and their deputy sheriffs are going, hey, we're getting a complaint about you boys and this and this and that. And they go, oh man, we're just playing ball. And, and, it wasn't a real nice part of the neighborhood, of course, whatever. But then all of a sudden they go, well, hang on, we need someone to talk to you. And they thought they were all in trouble. And then that gargantuan of a man comes out of the vehicle, and then he plays ball with them. The sheriffs and him play ball. And then he lets them make a free throw. Give them $100 for every free throw they make. He was peeling off hundreds.
Oh my God.
And this one boy kept bricking them, and he kept moving them closer and closer.
Oh.
Finally, he made one. He peeled off a couple of them for him. Just anyway, I think he's just as advertised. Whatever you see there,
right,
is what he is. So, that's awesome, Brandon.
Yeah,
that's the best. That's the best thing of tonight's show, right?
Yeah.
I thought you might like that, Dad.
I love that.
Well, and it's funny what you say about Shaq wanting to know who wrote the scripts, Brandon, because that reminds me of Macy and I watch a lot of Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay. And in every episode, he's always like, who made this risotto? And you're never sure. Like they don't know what to expect, but he always just shouts it like that. And sometimes they'll say, it was me, chef. And he'll be like, he'll spit it out and throw it in the trash can or he'll say, that's the most beautiful risotto I've ever seen in my life. And so I wasn't sure what you were going to say when Shaq asked who wrote the script.
We had a feeling it wasn't great. The way he was like, who wrote this? And he would ask different people like, does this make sense? And we're like, we don't have to say it. We promise. we wrote like 30 other lines. We can do something else.
Okay. So he was just kind of wanting to make sure it was right.
Yeah. It was just one of the lines. He just hadn't heard the phrase before. And he was like, another story for another day.
That's so cool. Okay, well that was a great intermission. Thanks, Brandon.
So you were getting back. Oh yeah, real quick. I won't spend much time on Philadelphia just because I don't know. Well, they've been good. I got a couple things.
Well, Brandon doesn't know anything about the Eagles this season, so yeah, give a brief history of their situation.
They are probably, player for player, they're better than Kansas City. Almost, if you took the whole talent level of the team. But what they have is probably one of the top 10 running backs ever, maybe, if he keeps it up. Saquon Barkley, he ran for over 2,000 yards this year per season, which he almost set the record, but he sat the last game because they didn't need him to play regular season. Afraid he might get hurt. So they didn't let him go for the record, which I think he wanted the record, but he's a real team guy. He just gotten traded from New York Giants. So the Giants have been in purgatory for quite a while now. They made one little playoff appearance a couple, 3 years ago, but they have stunk, and they traded him away, which was the dumbest thing they've ever done because he's the best player they almost ever had. But they went to, and they were stupid enough to trade him to, and this won't mean much to you, but a team in their own conference, a team that's only like 3 hours away from them. I mean, and the fans have just abused the Giants all year long about good trade. I mean, they just make fun. They do posters, and because he has been that awesome, and he's really made the difference. And really, I think he still he scares me. He gives them a chance to beat the Chiefs. He really does. So he's been awesome. Their quarterback is one of these guys. He's a great runner of the ball too, but he's trying to become more of a pocket passer, just staying back and passing more. He's good, but he gets grief a little bit on both sides. I mean, Philadelphia's lucky to have a really good quarterback, but they keep saying he hadn't delivered, the big games or playoffs. He's got like the best team out there, and maybe he doesn't deliver his part. And so he feels a little disrespected. So that adds a little bit of juice to the whole mix. And he's professional, but he'll say a little things about that. So, and again, you go with Kansas City, who Andy Reid is truly considered one of the most brilliant offensive minds. As they say, you give Andy Reid 2 weeks preparation, which they have here, and he can there'll be plays nobody's seen on tape ever. He's come up with new plays, and he's so creative. And so they kind of have to do a little bit. Some of their victories are a little smoke and mirrors. I mean, they have had some injuries. They are lacking some talent sometime. And I'll get back to that quickly in a second. But the Eagles, the Eagles could come in and really bully their way, because the other thing is Kansas City and both the Eagles, they had home field advantage all the way through the playoffs. So every team had to go to Kansas City, and it's freezing, it's brutal, and it's tough to win there. But now both of them are going to be playing indoors in New Orleans in the Superdome, right? And so that's going to be an interesting mix. Both teams are outside built, tough winter teams. They're both playing indoors, which we'll see. I think Mahomes might be the better of that for the passing game. Right. The passing game can pick up. Anyway, so the Philadelphia, though, is known as the blue-collar team. The fans are probably meaner than the players, It's tough. And so if you don't have to play in Philadelphia, you got a real advantage playing them somewhere else other than in Philadelphia, because it really is bad. I mean, they're almost abusive to anybody from fans and players.
Okay, I want to try to translate and summarize some of the differences the distinctions between the two teams you've been making tonight, Dad, because you've been calling Andy Reid and the Chiefs really creative. And are you just saying they just always have something new, some trick up their sleeve that surprises their opponent? Is that kind of what you mean by that?
And I want to follow that up. Their defensive coordinator really does that too on his side, because how they beat Buffalo was him pulling a certain type of zone blitz that they hadn't used all year long, and they saved it for 4th down with Josh Allen, and the Bills weren't, this was last, 2 weeks ago, Bills were not ready for it. And they got Bills. They didn't get their first down, and they had Josh on the run. And it was a play that all the pros who get online, the talking heads, go, oh my gosh. Yeah. They hadn't used that the entire season, and he's been saving that. So they got a defensive coordinator that's equal to Andy, I think, on the offensive side. Okay. So when I say creative, yes, blitzes and just changing up on defense, and they're just, other teams just haven't seen some of it. And you have 2 weeks to prepare. They'll throw a lot of extra, as they call them, extra wrinkles in their defense and their offensive schemes and plays. And so you got that. And then I think, like I said, Philadelphia's probably got the best offensive line possibly in NFL.
So I was going to come back to that, because you've been calling them blue collar all night tonight. And by that, do you just mean they just are kind of they stick to the fundamentals? They're just strong, and they just push them around?
Physicality, right? Their physicality. Okay. They absolutely can beat you like a drum.
So it's a little bit of brains versus brawn in a way.
Yeah. We don't want the Philadelphia folks to hear us say that, but that's a little bit of that.
If we were to summarize it in just a couple words, you think that's kind of accurate?
Yeah. I already see this coming. I see one of your Instagram things, and I'm going to have my head on there, and it's going to be brains versus brawn. But yes, because I don't think their coaches are near the level of Andy Reid and their defensive coordinator.
But it is sports, and usually you just need muscles to win. So
no. Oh my gosh, you haven't learned anything with me.
I don't know. You're kind of selling me on Philadelphia. I'm starting to lean, because here's the thing we've talked about since we started this podcast too, Brandon. This is one of the episodes you probably haven't heard, but we talked about the iconic tush push, which is a signature Philadelphia Eagles play
originated
of the past few years. And it's where the whole team, when basically the Eagles just need a yard or two to get into the end zone or whatever, or get a first down, the entire team piles up behind the quarterback, and he just holds the ball, and they just shove him forward. And so they call the tush push because of that. And I hadn't, even though we recorded this podcast most of the NFL season, I don't think I watched a single game. Sorry, Dad.
No, that's what I'm here for. I make it so you don't have to, right? So you can still have conversations.
Well, but I finally did a week or two ago. I saw just a few minutes of the Eagles game, and I watched. I think it was Baltimore that was trying to stop them, and then they did stop the tush push like once.
No, not
or twice.
Baltimore. Not a few weeks ago. So that would have been the Commanders. That was the Commanders.
Oh, maybe it was the Commanders. Yeah, they stopped the tush push once or twice, but you could tell it took everything they had, and every other time the Eagles did it, they just fell over into the end zone. It was just like it looked pretty unstoppable on the camera to me.
Well, last year it was. 2 years ago it was when Jason Kelsey was the center. It really was unstoppable. He had some special superpower. He would drill that hole forward, and the rest of them would shove them. But see, that's why their quarterback can handle. I told Cooper, Jalen Hurts can handle it. He's a quarterback, but he can squat like 600 pounds. That's how strong his legs are. And so he gets in there and just drives it, and he can handle thousands of pounds of pressure literally on him, shoving him. He physically is strong. Yeah, I figure he's strong enough to handle all that. But anyway, I think it's fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah, my tailbone would just snap in half, I'm sure.
I'm not drinking enough milk for that. My bones.
Yeah. Brandon, I think we've covered most of the important ground for these two teams this Super Bowl. How are you feel? Oh, Dad?
No, I'll close one thing. I have to give Brandon and think about that for a minute. All I'm going to say is, since Mahomes has been the starting quarterback of Kansas City, they have been to 5 of the last 7 Super Bowls. I mean, that's in the NFL. That's just crazy. You usually don't maintain that level of quality play, right? And they, up to this point, they're 3-1, which is another great crazy stat. And they could be 4-1 here in a minute, and we'll see, right?
This is the Chiefs that we're talking about, though, right?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
The Chiefs.
Okay, got it.
The Chiefs.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
so that's
the Chiefs.
Pretty remarkable to itself. And so the only thing I was going to say about that, I just read an article today about it, is that's why they have they're the class organization between their general manager, their owner, and the coaches. General manager, they had a chance to pick up at trade just a few weeks ago a great defensive back that they really needed because one of their starters had gotten hurt again. Anyway, but the price was too high, right? They were negotiating. The price got too high. Another team got them. The Commanders actually got them. But what I like about them is they don't sell everything. Sometimes they don't throw it all in at once and forget. They don't care about next year. They do care about next year. And they're very careful about how they spend their money and how they, everything about it. They even convinced Patrick Mahomes he's taking a lot less money than a lot of quarterbacks because he likes where they can spend money on Tom Brady. It's the Tom Brady model because Brady used to take less money too to get better players. Anyway, That's all I got to say about it, Coop. That's good. I'm done. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
That's really cool. Yeah. I wonder, Brandon, if we should talk to the presidents of our agencies and ask if they'll take a little less money to retain us. The great talent that we are.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. We'll say, we'll cite the Tom Brady model.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of Tom Brady? Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
We don't even pronounce it right.
He's a football guy, so
yeah.
Y'all might better get an agent to represent y'all if y'all go in with that one.
Well, Brandon, how are you feeling about the game coming up? Do you have a good feeling for what to expect?
Yeah. So just to recap, so we got the Chiefs against the Eagles, right? Chiefs
correct.
Got the brains and the quarterback, Coach Reed, and the Eagles got the brawn and the tush push, and that's what's going for them.
Nice.
And a great running back.
Great running back, that's right.
Saquon Barkley's unbelievable. I love to watch him run. But anyway.
Okay.
You got it.
We can remember Barkley because Barkley's a great ad agency. So look for Barkley on the field on the Eagles side. That's where Mikey works at Barkley, Dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not have that link. I did not have that connection. I'll remember it now because I know that agency.
Yeah.
So any advertisers listening to them, look out for Barkley. He's definitely one we've talked about over the past couple months as one of the most fun players to watch in the league. So that should be.
Remember,
cool.
He's the one that I had you look at his run where he did He did a 360. He jumped over a player and did a 360. Did his leg spread, went over him, and kept running.
Oh, wait, I saw that.
Yeah,
that showed up on my feed, so that's saying something.
Shows you how crazy. There's never been one like it on that one. But anyway, go ahead, Coop. Sorry.
Well, that's great. I think, we're running up on time now, but that was a great deep dive into the game coming up. So looking forward to watching that, and we'll break down the results of that next week. But there's several other things, of course, when you've got a huge beast of an event like the Super Bowl, there's all sorts of hitchhikers riding along for that, just like the remoras of a shark. And so, for in Brandon and I's world, of course, we're super interested in ads, and we wanted to do a little segment just to get you guys excited to look out for some of the ads that are coming out this year. They start releasing all the Super Bowl ads way before the game even starts. So I've seen a couple, but I've intentionally held back from watching a couple ones I'm really excited about because I want to be surprised during the game. So I'm going to mention those now. And Brandon, I know you've got a couple thoughts here too, so I'll pass the mic to you in a second. But just a couple shout outs. I took a course from a guy named Danilo in New York, and he runs the creative at an agency called FCB in New York. And they have Budweiser right now. And so Budweiser's had a crazy up and down history, especially in recent years. They've had some controversy on both sides of the aisle. And but one thing that everybody loves is their Super Bowl spots with the big old Clydesdale horses and the puppies, right? So apparently this year they're coming back, and they're coming back in some big, exciting new way. So look out for the Clydesdales and the Budweiser spot this year. Okay.
Can I give an interjection, Coop? I know you're going to be surprised.
Sure.
But I got something for this.
Okay.
So do you guys, have you heard of ad meter? Is that a common, judgment or ranking of ads? Ad meter? Anyway, I found on ad meter, they had a ranking of the greatest Super Bowl commercials, but I wasn't going to say anything until later, but ever. But you brought up Budweiser. And so their ranking, they had them. So the top 4 that they had, 3 of the 4 were Budweiser. And you know what the number one that this ad meter group says, and it had like the most views, it was the 1998. And y'all, you're so young, Cooper, y'all might remember, but have you heard the what they call Frogs Survive the Close Call? The Frogs, where they sit there and they see the bar and the big Budweiser sign, and then one goes Bud or they got the 3. That apparently ranked the highest in ad meters measurements ever. But all those apparently came under, the do-gooders out there. We don't drink beer. I don't drink beer, but some of those things they didn't like all the puppies. The reason they had to back off some of those, from what I read, was that children were falling in love with this stuff, right?
Oh.
And you get the picture where that's heading and where people worry. But anyway, they had a couple other. I don't know if you remember the Bud Light one in 2000. It still makes me laugh. Bud Light 2005, when they're up there on the parachute going to go out a plane, and the plane was in trouble. And the guy's sitting there. He's not going out, but he's trying to get the other students and people to jump out the plane, and somebody accidentally threw the Budweiser 6-pack out, and that guy goes and he dives out the plane with no parachute. Anyway, that was one of their high rated ones too. That was really hilarious.
Man.
All right, I'm in y'all's territory.
They're definitely one of the strongest brands in advertising history. So it's fun to see what they do next. But Danilo, he's a guy I learned a lot from. I'd say he changed the course of my career in the past few months. So I'm really excited to see what he's been doing over there.
That's too cool.
Yeah. So next is one of my buddies. She was supposed to be my copywriter partner in my internship years ago. And so we were buddies, like pen pals, before the internship ever started. But then she couldn't get a visa. She was coming from Canada. So we never ended up working together. But her name's Anne-Sophie, and she is a copywriter in New York now. And she works at Gray, I believe. I hope I'm remembering that right. But her client that she got to do a Super Bowl spot for this year is AngelSoft. And I can't remember if I read this right. It might be their first time doing a Super Bowl ad. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Again, I have no idea what's going to be in it. I've intentionally left it to be a surprise. But look for AngelSoft. That's from my friend Anne-Sophie. So congrats, Anne-Sophie, on that one. And then lastly, Brandon and I both know these girls in LA. Rachel and Jessica Nugent. You work with Jessica's brother,
Right. Yeah. I work with Joe.
so
Mhm.
yeah. So go Jess and Rachel for their Instacart ad. And Dad, I'm curious what you think of this one, because for advertisers like us, we're like gonna eat it up. Have you seen it, Brandon?
I have actually seen that one.
Yeah. So they're bringing together. So the idea is like with Instacart, you can order anything to your home, and so they're bringing all these famous mascots from other famous Super Bowl ads in the past all into one commercial. And
Fun.
it's gonna be pretty legendary. The only thing I'll say is I've seen that Puppy Monkey Baby is in it. Do you remember that one, Dad?
Puppy baby
There's
monkey.
a Mountain Dew, right?
It's a Mountain
It
Dew
was
ad.
Yeah, it was for Mountain Dew Kickstart,
Something.
and it was like 3 great things in one drink, and it was like energy, vitamins, and something else, like Mountain
I don't
Dew
really
or whatever.
remember that much. Yeah.
So they're like, what are the 3 best things ever? Puppies, monkeys, and babies. And so they made like a really creepy doll that, and it's like a robot and it moves and stuff. And so I know Puppy Monkey Baby is going to be in it.
I'll go back and look at that. I might have missed that, and I missed that one, but I'll go back
kind of
and look at it.
Yeah, it's kind of nightmare fuel, but I'm really excited to see that one. So anyways, those are the 3 ads I'm most excited to look out for: Budweiser, Angel Soft, and Instacart. But Brandon, what are you thinking of?
Well, so it's interesting with the Super Bowl spots, because sometimes they'll spend months prepping for these Super Bowl spots, but sometimes clients have last second change of heart and they want to do a Super Bowl spot. So no joke, on Friday I get an invite for Monday saying Super Bowl brainstorm sesh, one-time brainstorm sesh for earlier today, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a little late, don't you think? So I'm getting ready to this meeting. I'm like writing down ideas. I'm like, I have no idea. This is probably gonna be a disaster. Like, there's no way this is gonna go well. And
I guess we're not allowed to know the brand.
No, I probably shouldn't say.
Okay.
But when I get into the meeting, it was more of a mislabeling, and it turns out they were going to do something around the Super Bowl. It wasn't a Super Bowl spot, and then it ended up that it was more of like a year calendar thing. So it was really disappointing. But that late stuff can happen. But I was like, oh wow, this is.
I would have been sweating bullets. Holy cow!
I'm like, hey, this is my one shot, and no one can overthink it. So let's do it.
That's pretty cool, though, that y'all are tied to it and have know from that world.
Yeah.
I always loved the Super Bowl ads years ago. I think they have changed some, but
it's just it became like what celebrity can you buy for your ad? And it's like, I don't know. It's just the creativity went out the window. But what I loved last year, it's hard to say, but I think my favorite one last year was the Reese's ad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember that well. I just remember everybody starts screaming and one guy shoves his head into a wall.
I think they have another one, and I've seen it. It's actually pretty funny. It's
yeah. Oh yeah, no, this year I've seen it too. The lava cup one.
Have y'all? So do you, Cooper, on that? Have you seen? Talking about buys. One of my all-time favorites. I found it today. Looking for some. Do you remember the Betty White and Snicker?
Oh yeah.
Playing football.
Where she gets tackled to the ground.
Yeah,
right?
She was really 88 years old. Came out of retirement to do that ad. Pretty cool,
man. So cool. Well, yeah, and that was a great use of a celebrity too. But like, I loved the Reese's one from last year because you didn't know any of the actors. It was just funny because it was funny, like. So I'm hoping we see a little bit more of that this year. I'm not getting my hopes up too high, but there you go. There's a little ad recap or prep section, whatever we want to call that. Okay, we're running late. We knew this would happen, but Dad,
I'm glad you saved it to last. But go ahead.
We got to talk one thing. So the other big part of Super Bowl talk that we got to have is the halftime show. This one is sponsored by Apple Music. I think they've done it the past few years, maybe. And Apple's known for really valuing music. They're tastemakers. They gave us that free U2 album like a decade ago.
Yes.
Which is one of the weirdest things still in my like teenage memory. It's like, why is there this shirtless man in my music library all of a sudden? But yeah, no. So Apple has done us the great honor of bringing us Kendrick Lamar and SZA is how I say her name. I don't know It's spelled SZA. I don't know. I think it's SZA.
SZA.
She's great. She's collaborated with Kendrick Lamar before. And Brandon, you said before the show that you didn't know who the halftime performer was. How do you feel knowing that it's Kendrick Lamar?
You know, it's funny. I also don't follow music that well either, and so I'm kind of like, oh, cool. Like, wow, that's great.
Well, you. Well, hey, come on.
Right, Brandon?
You've seen Black Panther. Both of you have seen Black Panther.
Yes.
Kendrick Lamar played a big part in that soundtrack. Part of the reason why
Cool.
it's so cool, so
I
great.
did not know that, actually. Interesting.
Yeah, he's a performer and I think writer on that. So, gosh, I don't even know where to begin, but I'll try to keep it succinct because we're running late. Dad, how do you feel about rap in general?
Not my favorite. Not a fan.
I'd say you're holding
zero fan.
I was gonna say you're holding back a little bit on me. Come on.
like a negative fan.
What?
I find I'm sure there's talent there, but if you give me a rapper who's creative and is clean, then I appreciate some of the talent. But beyond that, I have no. If I never heard another rap song in my life at the gas station, I would be some kind of happy.
Well, I feel like you're putting on. Yeah, I feel like you're going a little easy for the audience. I've never heard you say a positive word about rap or rappers in my whole life.
I'm trying to be. Well, I get tired of you editing me out all the time. The good stuff I put in here. No, I have zero. I just think it's not music.
Whoa. Okay. Well, there's half of the SportSense take right there.
There's your sound bite.
So, okay. Well, we're going to finish the show by me exposing you to a little bit of Kendrick Lamar. So this is a big deal. What I just sent you, and I sent you the clean version, Dad.
I appreciate that. That's kind of you.
But before you listen, let me tell this story. And let me tell you that just last night, this won Song of the Year at the Grammys. So big deal, like the song of the year.
Big.
It was up.
It
had some steep competition against the likes of Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan. I don't know if you know any of those names. Beyonce. So very stiff competition. And the story behind this song, did either of you hear much about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef of the past year?
I knew of the beef because of I worked on a lot of social accounts, so I knew of it, but I didn't follow it.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of knew generally. Do you know generally who? Or Dad, what do you know about it?
No, I actually saw it cross something, but I have no idea.
Do either of you guys know like what the cultural response was overall?
Well, I know there's a lot of conversation about it.
Yeah. Well, here's who came out winning was Kendrick. Everybody, and it was a very swift, decisive victory. What happened is that Drake threw some shade at him. Kendrick kind of fired some warning shots with a track or two. And I'm gonna probably mess up some of the story, but he basically was like, I know some, in one of his songs, he basically said, I know some stuff about you that you don't want me to say publicly, but I will if you come at me again. and Drake did. He poked the bear, and Kendrick's more talented. He's actually he's actually a writer. Drake is one of those guys. He's just an actor and a pretender, and people write his songs for him. This is a very hot take, so sorry if there's any Drake fans out there. Kendrick's actually an actual musician and artist. So anyways, Kendrick comes out with this song that I just texted you. It's called Not Like Us. And I just want you to listen. I don't even know if you'll catch many of the lyrics because he does go pretty fast. And you're not used to listening to rap, Dad. Maybe Brandon.
Well, the problem is I do Peloton workouts with your mom, pretty heavy, a lot of workouts.
Okay.
And we get very aggravated, but a lot of those guys use rap in their background. So much so your mother had two brilliant ideas today. She's trying to get the Peloton. One, can we just mute the music that the instructor's using, or can we just choose our own musical
oh my goodness
background because we're tired of hearing this other garbage.
Okay. Well, in general, we're going to do an episode later. Where we'll get into rap more in general.
Can I listen to this later
Dad?
so I can really focus?
No, I want to
Or
get
do
your
I-
reaction,
Oh,
just
gosh.
initial reaction, and just musically, even if you feel the rhythm of the song. I just want you to get a feeling for it. You listening, Dad?
Oh, I even know Compton.
Yeah.
Very high voice. Is that the way he always sounds?
He kind of goes he goes up and down depending on the theme of the song.
I think he took some helium in before he started.
So you getting the theme of the song yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's basically accusing him of being a
Oh,
predator.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and of course, I understand the Drake connection to some of the national news of,
Okay. Yeah.
foul action. Yeah. I got
Which
it.
I think I technically have to mute that on YouTube, or else they yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, get that off of there. Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
that's quite a.
I mean, did it make you move at all or feel anything?
No, I mean I hear that stuff. I know. I watch you bopping to it, but I have a history of incredible music from the '60s, '70s. Not the disco part of the '80s, but some of the good '80s, a little bit '90s. There's some really good variety from country to rock to folk rock. I mean, you name it. There's so many artists that move me in different ways. It could be just acoustic guitar, it could be, but this just makes me get a headache, like I'm bopping against a brick wall. Like, that's pretty much how it does for me.
Oh man.
But I he did sound better than I heard some. And every other word's not the F word, so that's a bonus. That's really nice.
Yeah.
The clean version. Yeah.
It's not a crazy vulgar song or anything. And that's
Right,
what I like
that's
about
good.
Kendrick is
Yeah.
he'll use language, but his like subject matter isn't really disgusting or
Right.
crass. So it's usually very thought provoking and interesting. So if you were to ever listen to a rapper, I would tell you to go listen to Kendrick Lamar.
Because the lyric, right? You're saying the lyrics, the words, they have messages, meaning other than just the ridiculousness of others.
Right. There's other people like Biggie Smalls, really famous from the '90s, and Snoop Dogg. They're more just like crime and lasciviousness, I'll say, and that kind of stuff. So,
not that they've ever used that word in any of theirs. That's multiple
Right.
multiple syllables there. And
pulling up some vocab for you there. Well, anyways, and SZA,
but no, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, can I back up? I got to make it fair, Coop.
Okay.
Be fair to me on this. I don't care about most of the Super Bowl halftime shows. Like Mom says, ever since the clothing mishap thing, whatever happened years ago. And I mean, there's been a few. I like Eric Clapton was great. There's been a few that are worth watching. But honestly, and this you can edit out too, but most halftimes for me, I'm preparing, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm getting some better food put in, new wings put in. It's my break time. And remember, I mentioned to you, this is one of the, I'll quickly throw in the football part on this. Players struggle with this. Halftime show, their halftime time off during the Super Bowl is over twice the normal time, almost 2.5 times the normal time of a regular game. So their body cools way down. So physically, it is interesting. The halftime, that part about the halftime on the playing field part, pretty fascinating. That's a different game. Wow. Different game, longer commercial times. So they stand on the field longer times, waiting for the next play when there's a commercial after a timeout, things like that. Interesting. But so that's why halftimes have never meant a lot to me, ever, hardly.
Sure.
I know you can believe that, probably.
Well, I think this is a good point to kind of wrap up, and I think that's a very fair point, Dad. What you said, I'm glad you brought some reasonableness. I'm not accusing you of just hating rap. You just hate halftime shows. So, but just to bring it back to one last sporty question,
don't hate halftime shows, not all of them. And I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to listen to them a little bit. I'm going to.
Well, now I know the story a little bit. Yeah, the cultural tension there, which is interesting, and why it's a big deal that he's there. Because this is it's really a victory lap around Drake, among other things, the fact that he's doing this show.
So it's probably one of the reasons, too, he won that song, right? Best song. It kind of maybe had extra juice about it.
Yeah, it had the story to it. Yeah, for sure. It just packed such a punch. And everybody, it makes you dance. And so more than just being a diss track, people just loved listening to it. And it was the track of the summer, and it was just fun.
Good.
But anyway, yeah, good for us. Okay, well, yeah, just to bring it back to one last sporty note, you said it's double the halftime. So what does that do for the football teams in a Super Bowl? Does that give an advantage because are they able to like strategize a little longer, or are they just kind of twiddling their thumbs?
That'd be sweet. Well, they might get a little bit of that, but all high level sports, I mean, and think about really, I guess the musicians, anybody, but especially in sports, they're so, man, routine, be it baseball, basketball, football, the highest level is routine. They're used to everything by the minute, by the second almost. They have their patterns in which they're set. So this throws it all completely. Like I said, their body cools down. Different things happen, right? They might get a little bit more coaching they can get out of it, but it's probably not worth throwing them out of their routine and regiment that they've spent their whole professional and collegiate life used to the exact same time. They do the same thing. They might come, whatever they do. They all have their just the way they do it. The pattern and the methods that they use. Some of them might even get IVs at halftime, or whatever. There's different things they do, and it's thrown just way off. They're prepared for it. I mean, they know it's different, and so they prepare, and the coaching staff prepares. But it is very different. It is very different.
So what can you expect from a Super Bowl second half generally? Do they start off a little slower?
I think so. I really do. I do. But I don't know if that's been, if that's statistically backed up, but I do think and it's funny, some of the players sometimes want to sneak a peek. It depends who's performing. So you could have a few of those this year trying to sneak a peek at what's going on, and that distracts them. And it's fitting because you got to remember, these are not
show. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they're not robots. Man, these guys, a lot of them, they're 23, 24, 25.
People who surely appreciate the song of the year, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
Yeah.
No. I mean, all those younger people, right? They're all young men, relatively speaking. There's a few in their 30s, but there's a lot of young men.
They'll probably stay warm by dancing around the locker room during that show.
It might be good, or they might expend too much energy. I don't know. No, so it just makes it different. It's just different. It's out of routine, and that's sometimes difficult for coaches to get them back focused and in routine.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye on that. I don't have anything else. Brandon, I'm sorry if we've talked too much.
We wore him out.
He's
about to doze off over there.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to bring up or talk about before we go?
No, I'm excited to use my knowledge for this sports ball game,
Okay, right there. Stop. Cooper doesn't. It's not sports ball game. Okay, we got to separate it. Sports or something in general, but for the ball game,
right? Okay,
or the Super Bowl, or for the game,
right.
But not sports game.
Well, it's all irony, Dad. Come on.
It just hurts. It hurts. If I'm going to be associated with you two, I need you to get the lingo pretty good.
Okay. Your name is attached pretty strongly to this show, so I guess we better respect that.
Right. Thanks for correcting me.
You're a good sport. Thanks for getting on. I told Cooper it's going to be awesome to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was a long one, but we needed a super episode for the Super Bowl. I had a couple mailbag questions actually, but I'm going to save them for next week because we'll probably need a little bit of material to talk about. But Brandon, thank you so much. Hope you have a great week at your amazing ad agency, and let us know. Text us this week if you get to have any good conversations about the game with anybody.
I will do. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Brandon.
Well, we'll let you go.
Yeah, bye.
See you, everybody. Bye.
See you, Coop.
SportSense.